Hello and welcome to Husky Talk. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. With me today, the GOAT, a very special guest, a man I've been pursuing, not sexually, but pursuing to have on the show for a while, Mr. Shane Stafford himself. Shane, welcome.
My man, it's great to catch up with you. Trust me, I've been following you with this stuff, man. You're doing a fantastic job, and I might
That's what I
go in
keep
there with
hearing.
you as the best podcaster. Let's get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and yeah, I've wanted to have you on for a while just because of your amazing career and your amazing story. Um, I know initially
Sorry.
you're a PA guy.
Yes.
Um, where are you? Where did you initially grow up in Pennsylvania?
Great question. Kind of.
The first
So Reading,
question is a great
PA.
question.
That is a good question. Very good question. Because I grew up in Reading, PA. That's
Oh,
kind of how I
Reading.
got to UConn. Is where Danielle Marshall is from. So, um, yeah, I until I think my fourth or fifth grade year, I ended up moving out to the suburbs because my dad taught out in the school in Sinking Spring. So, yeah, the Reading, Pennsylvania, Berks County area is originally where I'm from.
When did you initially start playing football? Were you one of those kids who started playing Pop Warner when they were 9 years old? Did you play did you start a little bit older of an age?
No, I actually, Steve, bro, man, this whole story is crazy. I was more of a basketball guy. My dad was a basketball coach, and
Wow,
yeah, so he just
that
got
is
me into
crazy.
he got me into football, bro, because he wanted to keep me out of trouble. Like I said, in the city of yeah, in the city of Reading, it wasn't a lot of good things to get
Yeah,
into. You know,
you're
it
right.
was all it was a lot of bad things, and so I remember walking 4 or 5, 6 blocks with my pads, over my shoulder and stuff like that, and that's how I got into football. And honestly, I
What
truly
age?
it was about it was about when I was 7 or 8, and I'll
Oh,
never
wow.
forget, man. Um, I almost quit playing football because I'm like, this is dumb. People are hitting me, and
Yeah, I
you
didn't
know,
like it either at that
yeah.
age.
So I went to a game um, with my grandfather, and I missed it because all my buddies, all my brothers, all the people out there, they were playing, and yeah, I ended up going back the
You
next week. Yeah, it was
you
like
went to a high school game?
no, the Pop Warner game.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got
when I
you.
was
Okay.
like 5 or 6, whatever, 7, 8 years old, whenever you can play, start playing
Right.
Pop Warner. And yeah, I ended up missing it
You
and all those guys.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah.
Yeah. I
And
miss I, I miss games too, but it's because I couldn't make weight, but that's different.
mine was I was being a little, bitch kind of thing, but um,
Were you playing
uh,
quarterback?
yeah, I was playing quarterback, safety. You know how they do back in Pop Warner. They just let you
Yeah.
play every position, whatever
Yeah.
you're good at. But I was never the fastest on that team. Man, we had a whole bunch of dudes. Sweep right, sweep left. That's all we did.
That's all you did. Student body right, student body
Yeah.
left.
Every now and then we used to. My longest run was like a 50-some-yard touchdown run where you goose the center on the button,
And
ride
ran.
out.
Was it like just a true QB sneak or you ran like a sweep?
No, that was true QB sneak, but you don't say
Oh
anything.
my god.
Yeah, you don't say anything because at that age, these guys
Yeah.
they're waiting to hear something say ready, down, set, whatever, and we just got up, goosed them, and man,
Wow.
I was out.
You were smart back then. You could read a defense back then. You knew there was a hole and you took advantage of it and you got a
Yeah.
50-yard run out of it.
I wish I could
That's
say that
impressive.
was all me.
What were your what were your coaches like at the Pop Warner level? Because I see coaches now at the Pop Warner level, and I want to strangle them sometimes because they think they're coaching at Alabama. So I was curious at the experience you had with your coaches at that level?
No, they were just good guys, plain and
They
simple.
were good.
Yeah, they were good guys. They didn't know what the heck they were doing. They were just showing up, honestly, to help coach their son. Because you got to
Yeah.
remember, like the city of Reading, it still is not good. And
No, it's a
so
tough place.
yeah, and so they just showed up to help keep the kids off the street. And I can't tell you, sometimes we'd practice with 4 guys because you never knew who would show up, whether they could get a ride or not get a ride. And, it's in the hood. And yeah, we practiced on
Wow.
like in grass that was like 2 feet high and stuff like that. Found a little area, all the dirt that we could get. But yeah, man, it was they were great.
They were good
Honestly,
guys.
yeah, honestly, Coach Godwin, um, yeah, he was awesome. Like it was like a whole family. Like it was like a grandfather, a father, and like a son kind of a deal coaching us. But it was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool that they every week they came out and supported us.
Did you stick with that, throughout Pop Warner, or did you have different coaches each year?
Well, the ironic thing is when I moved out to the suburbs, I obviously had new coaches and different
Okay.
things like that. So, um, yeah, Danielle Marshall and I, like, we came up in that same Northwest, um, Pop Warner type thing is what it was called. I don't even remember the name of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but
Oh,
yeah,
he
it's
played
funny.
too?
What's that?
He played too?
Yeah, he was a quarterback when he was like he stopped playing in like 7th grade. Everybody knew he was
Wow.
going to be a hooper. So
Yeah.
yeah, he stopped playing or football and really focused on basketball when he was like in 7th grade. But man, he could throw that thing a country mile back in the day in 7th grade.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you played with him through Pop Warner. You moved to the suburbs.
Uh,
Um, how are those teams before you went to play for your school? Any
it was
memories from there?
not really.
Nothing that
It
sticks
was your
out.
typical like just whatever Pop Warner type things. And then went to high school, and it's crazy, Steve, because my high school career kind of mirrored my college career. Like I started as a backup as a sophomore. I was a backup at Wilson High School, which had Kerry Collins before
Yeah,
me,
I heard that. Yep.
and then Chad Henne after me, and then
Oh
obviously
my
myself
God,
as far as quarterbacks. Um, but
that's incredible.
yeah, there's 3 pretty darn good quarterbacks.
Yeah,
If I don't mind putting myself in there, right?
I put you right in there, man. Chad Henne, Kerry Collins, Shane
Yeah,
Stafford, absolutely.
it was. It was. Typically your sophomores don't start at my high school. Like you
It's
never
very
ever.
rare. Yes.
You know, and with the tradition we have at the high school, we haven't had a losing season at that high school in over like 60, 70 years, something like that. Crazy. Um, but yeah, so the starting quarterback, he was screwing up. He had a bunch of turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, things like that. And so
Senior or junior?
he was a senior and I was a sophomore, and he was supposed to be the incumbent guy, and blah blah blah. So they put me in against Owen J. Roberts, and I don't know how I remember this, but we ended up losing the game. We were on the 1 yard line, and we had an all-state running back. He rushed for like I don't know, almost 2,000 yards in the season, kind of a deal, and he was like an all-state javelin thrower and that kind of thing. Just a tremendous athlete. So we get down to the 1 yard line. We never went over this. And I was a sophomore. So I just yelled, same play, same play. And it was basically student body left. And the
Was the time
defense,
running off the clock? Was it
yes, we had
oh,
no
okay.
timeouts. So I
Oh
didn't know what to
God.
do. Heck. Um, and next thing you know, to this day, I'm like, damn, if I only would have kept that football, we would have won that game, and I would have walked in and
You would
been
have
a
ran a
hero.
sneak
No,
or
I
a
just
sweep.
would have picked the handoff and just
Yeah.
kept.
Oh,
That's
and
kind of
ran
funny.
like a bootleg.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of teams do that.
Absolutely.
I've seen teams that do that, and what they'll do, they'll call the play like sweep left,
Yeah,
but they won't tell the line that the QB is going to keep it, and the
absolutely.
QB just keeps it himself and goes.
I can't tell you how many times as an offensive coordinator in the Arena League, I would
Yes,
tell I would tell our quarterback, "Hey, keep this because they're crashing the ends and everything like that." I said, "Don't tell anybody else.
don't tell
Just
anyone else.
run
You're
the
going to walk
play,
right in.
and you just keep it." And yeah, I can't tell you how many times that works.
So, how many games into your sophomore year did you end up becoming the starter?
I think it was the second game of the season because we
It was the
lost
second game.
to yeah, we lost one game because again the starter he ended up having some turnovers. Um, and then the second game, he had more turnovers, and that's when they put me in. And man, you talk about nerves, and you talk about like for once hearing like pads crunching and going at it. I was like, what the?
I see, but I can't picture you. You always seem like Joe Cool. You seem like you're calm, cool, and collective. Like I can't picture you getting nervous before a game or going into a game, even coming off the bench, because you have always had so much confidence, and you play like your hair's on fire. I mean, you have intensity, you have passion, you have desire. So it's hard for me to imagine you like having a little nerves.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's if you ask any quarterback, I think we all have those
Yeah,
nerves, but
yeah,
you have to exude that confidence because
yeah.
being in a huddle when a quarterback comes in, you can tell if they're not confident in the play that's called or they're not confident
Yes, you
in
can.
themselves. So you just have to fake it till you make it kind of a deal and that's what I did. I knew I had talent. I'm not gonna say I didn't know that,
You had
but
incredible talent. Absolutely.
yeah, at the same time though, Steve, you know how it is, man. You heck every position until you actually like make that first play where you're challenged. You still question, do you belong, kind of a deal, and then you belong, but you don't know you belong. You know what I'm saying? Kind of a deal.
Yeah, yeah. With me, it took me like I got drilled. I got hit really hard, and it knocked me off my feet. And I got up and I was like, "Wow, that's not that bad." And
Yeah,
then I wasn't as tentative or as hesitant anymore because I wasn't scared. I was like, "I can get hit. I'll get right back up and I'll be fine." And that's exactly what you said. That made the difference. And I started to play with a lot more confidence. Um, but your sophomore year, you ended up starting. How did you perform that year? How did the team do? How did you do statistically? Do you recall any numbers? And if you went to the playoffs or anything?
we didn't go to the playoffs that year, although we were hot at the end of the year. Um, Here's one of the stats I do remember. I was 1 for 2, and we won by 45 points in one game.
Wow.
So my sophomore
Wow.
year, they didn't really let me throw the ball too much.
You were on a running team.
We
Yeah.
were definitely a running team. If I threw the ball, even Kerry, when Kerry was there, like they let him throw the ball maybe 20 times. And that was a lot for our
Wow.
high school. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
when Chad got there, though, man, they're slinging that. They had a new head coach at the time, and um, they were
They
slinging
ran
that
some
thing around like, yeah,
yeah.
30 times a game kind of a deal.
They ran some
So,
of the spread stuff or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, they started doing like hot reads and different things like
Like
that.
the West Coast stuff. That's tough.
Yep, yep. So yeah, it was definitely a different brand of football in the
Yeah.
early '90s,
Yeah.
mid '90s than it
It
is
was.
in 2000s when Chad graduated. But hey, to his credit, man, he executed that. And ironically, I came back and helped when Chad was a freshman. He
Oh, you
was
did?
yeah, I came back and Jim Contafio was the head coach at the time with Chad Henne, whereas I had Jerry Slemmer, and Jerry Slemmer, he coached at our high school for like 30, 40 years. And
Oh,
he
so
was
he was an
our,
old school guy.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
know those.
Yeah. And yeah, so, I wish I would have been able to play in a system like that where we threw it a whole bunch of times around the
I know.
field. That
I
would have
know.
been awesome.
I know. I know. It's but you know what? You did the best you could with what you had.
Hmm.
Um, Now after that sophomore season, would you say that that's when you fell in love with football, or had you fallen in love with it before you even started?
Yeah, that's a great question too, because honestly, I love the whole camaraderie about football. I actually
That's
enjoy
what we all miss. Yeah.
absolutely. And the physical contact, once you get used to that, you actually truly enjoy it.
Yeah.
People always ask me that kind of stuff, like, what about when you got hit and all that kind of stuff? And I said, I actually welcome that because
Yeah. Bring it.
uh, I just watched it's on Apple TV, and it's the Dynasty with the Patriots, and um,
Yes.
Brady talks about that, and also so did Bledsoe, and talk about getting that first hit out of the way and all that kind of good stuff. And you truly just want to get, you as an offensive lineman, get downhill. I want to get that contact. I want to get in a groove, and
Yeah, and
uh,
then you feel normal, then
it,
it doesn't worry you as much at all. So
yep.
I completely understand that.
Yeah. So
Um,
I definitely fell in love with it, my sophomore year, just doing all that stuff and under the lights and that Friday night light kind of
yeah, and PA
chemistry.
is one of the best football states in the country, so,
Yeah.
I mean, you played at one of the best. Now, yeah, back then, recruiting was so different.
Yes.
Um, were you after that sophomore year, did you start attending any camps? Did you go to any camps? Did you send out any film, or was it too early?
Not after my sophomore year. What See, back then I think it was just team camps. They didn't really have like
They didn't
now,
have yes, you're right.
like Dave Schumann, I know when he started his whole thing up and
I'm
what
having
he
'em on
did.
tomorrow.
Awesome, man. Make sure you tell him I said hello. That's my dog, man. We've roomed
I
together for I can't tell you how long up at UConn, and when he
I
started
never heard
that,
of him. I didn't know. Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, the Schumann camps. I remember when he started with Schumann Speed back. I think it was like 2002 when he
Oh,
started
wow.
that, and yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation for you tomorrow because Dave is a person that not only does he have things in his mind, he also executes them and
Yes.
has a great business mind. But yeah, we didn't have those. And before Nike
No.
and Adidas and all those in Under Armour started their combines and camps,
Right.
you had the Schumann, camps.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so to your
But did
question though,
you
we never had those. It was all team camps back then.
did you ever go down to, like, Penn State or Pitt or any of those schools?
We went to like the Division 2. Like Division 2 is
Like Bloomsburg
huge.
or
Yeah,
it is,
Shippensburg, and
yeah.
we went out west to
Lock
challenge.
Haven.
Yeah, all those different schools. I think we went to like um, IUP and
Yep.
different things like that. For the camps and stuff like that. So everything was a team camp back then, though. Nothing was
Right.
individual. It
They didn't
wasn't.
do, like, the one-day camps like they do now.
Right, exactly. Those combines where they get your 40 or this and that, and then they tell the coaches and they put it
Yeah.
on a website. But yeah, I'll tell you, Dave Schumann truly changed. Like, he doesn't get enough credit. He changed the way kids get recruited. He truly did. But he's not Nike. He's not Under Armour. He's Dave Schumann, and a
I
lot of people
appreciate
miss
you
that.
telling me all this because I was going in blind, so now
Yeah,
I have some knowledge of I didn't know I had no idea he pioneered that and,
yeah,
does camps all over, that's incredible.
absolutely.
So you did the team camps, then
Hmm.
you had your junior year.
Hmm.
Um, And I'm sure that's probably where you must have come into your own a little bit more.
Started to. I'll tell you, in the off season, if you will, like it was mandatory that in the summer, it was mandatory that you were there, 3 days out of the week, lifting, running. We had a
Wow.
hill. Oh man, it was terrible. And then we would stay, later that day and throw. I'd probably throw 200-300 balls, Monday,
Jeez.
Wednesday, and Friday. And I didn't have the strongest arm, but it was always accurate, and
Yes. You knew
got
where
rid
to
of
go
it
with the ball.
exactly. And that, it's like anything. It helped create the chemistry, but that helped me to understand the commitment it would take when I got to college. From
Did
that
you did you
standpoint.
have aspirations at that time to play like that? Did you think in your mind, okay, I want to play Division One football. I want a scholarship. Was that like a goal that you had set for yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To be honest, Steve, I thought it was going to be in basketball. I was a better basketball player in college, in high school, than I was in college.
Are you
I mean,
serious?
than football player. Yeah,
I can't believe that.
yeah. I
Really?
truly, yeah. Basketball was my thing. Like I said, my dad, he was a basketball coach. My senior year in basketball, I averaged right around 20 a game, and was only allowed to shoot like maybe 15 shots. So
You were limited.
yeah, you had to be good. And then my senior year in basketball, like we were just drilling teams. So I'd be out by the by the end of the third quarter, and then the guys on the bench would come in because we'd be up by 20 or 30, and so basically I'm scoring 20 points in 3 quarters, kind of a deal.
Were
Um,
you being recruited for basketball as well?
I was. It's, I almost pulled my scholarship from UConn because Syracuse came to see me in a tournament in
Jim Boeheim?
yeah, Bayheim, and Carlissimo was there, and the Maryland coach
Oh
was
my
there because they were all
oh
there
my
to see
god.
this Serbian kid.
Gary Williams. Okay.
Yeah, Gary went. Yeah, they were there to see this
Holy
Serbian kid,
crap.
and I had the game of my life
Yeah.
there at that tournament, and everybody's like, "Who is this kid? Who is he?" And my dad was like, "Well, he's going to UConn," and they were like, "How the hell did Calhoun find out about this guy?" And my dad was like, "No, he's going to play football." And they were like, "He must be a hell of a football player because he's pretty damn good." And I found out, and I had already signed the scholarship
The
to go to
NLI.
UConn. My
Yeah.
dad told me that Boeheim was interested, and I was like, "Dad,
Do
anyway
you
I
think he
can."
would have pulled the trigger, or
No,
you
no
don't think
way.
he would have? He would have
Hell
he would
no.
have taken you as a walk on.
Yeah, yeah. I think it might have been like a partial scholarship type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. But
Because you're
um,
like 6'2", right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yep, exactly. And yeah, so um,
That's
yeah, so that
amazing.
happened. But I that's one thing I definitely. The only thing I do regret about that is my senior year at UConn.
No,
That's when we
I
won the
heard this
national
story.
championship.
I
Yeah,
heard this story. Yes, I did
and
hear that.
man, I'm so upset that I didn't walk on that squad.
I heard that. I heard that from several people. They told me that.
Yeah.
Um, so your junior year, um, is that when coaches started to come a little bit more? You started to get recruited by bigger schools, and that was when in the age of VHS tapes. You had to send out a VHS tape and like a football resume. That was the only way. I
Yeah.
remember my dad had like a one of those tape machines where he could dub tapes in like a few minutes, so he could send. There were no highlight tapes either. You just
Right.
had to send out game film.
Yeah.
And I remember he must have sent out like 100 tapes. That's all, because the coaches didn't really help. It was really on you and your family
Yeah.
for recruiting. So, um, did you have support with it, or did you guys kind of handle it yourself? And what schools early on were you speaking to?
Man, yes, I did have support. Like I said, our high school was extremely good at football.
Yes.
The
So you had
tradition,
coaches in and out, probably.
yeah, we were better traditionally as a football program. Um, but we had a hell of an athletic program at Wilson High School. But yeah, so how I ended up at UConn was, this is how it worked. And to your question is, my junior year, I didn't really get a lot of attention because we didn't
Really?
throw the ball a
Yeah,
lot.
you want a running team,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So my numbers weren't outstanding.
You're
And then
not
my
throwing like
senior
30
year,
touchdowns. I got you.
yeah, yeah. If I threw 10, that was a great year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
seriously.
Wow. He
Um,
really didn't utilize you.
yeah, I know, right? Um, I would like to think that, but maybe. But no, we
No,
had
I
some
mean,
injuries my junior year, so we weren't as good. We ended up like 7-4, where we were supposed to be really good my junior year, but we
yeah,
had some injuries, and you don't have depth in high school, so
no.
we struggled a little bit. So I didn't get much attention, to be honest. And then my senior year, I still didn't get a lot of attention from a football standpoint until UConn, Hofstra, some of those 1AA schools were
Yeah.
contacting me. And the way I got into, at the time, the Atlantic 10 was my
Yeah.
head coach. His son played at Boston University.
And they lost their program, right?
They lost their program, but he took me to a game when they played against Rhode Island, and I was like, wow, this is good football. Like, I would love to play at this
Yeah,
level.
that's the
And
same thing, same way I felt. Yeah.
yep, and yeah, and then what UConn did was, to your point, VHS tapes. So Todd Fitch, who was my offensive coordinator under Skip
Right.
Holtz, he just was watching film, just throwing random VHS tapes in, and
Yeah.
he said, I made a couple throws that impressed him, and then I made one or two runs where he was like, okay, this kid's athletic too. And it was against Reading High School, which all inner city, and
Yeah.
I
Good
outran,
competition. Yeah.
yeah, I outran some of the brothers to the
Yeah.
sideline.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
Which is that's not easy.
yeah, no doubt. But that's what got me recruited to UConn, was that random Todd Fitch just watching the VHS tape and putting it in God's hands, and next thing you know, I'm on a recruiting visit.
So you didn't get any offers after your junior season.
Nope, none.
Oh my God.
But see,
And
back then though,
it
remember
was
those
different.
seasons?
You Not a lot of
Yeah,
kids got offered as a junior. You're right. You're
right.
right.
Yep.
Now they get offered in 7th grade.
Serious. Yeah,
They have
exactly.
NIL deals by 9th grade. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
You're right. It was a different deal. So you went into your senior year,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really what made the difference. You sent out film from your senior year, and UConn came into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have any other schools that were interested? You mentioned Hofstra.
Mm-hmm.
Did like UNH or Delaware or any of those schools come into as well?
Not really. I'm telling you, Steve, a lot of my recruiting
Wow.
was basketball, bro. It
Yeah.
was. It was like the lower, kind of like Steph Curry, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but it was like the Davidsons and the
Yeah.
smaller 1A
Yeah.
programs,
Yep.
Bucknell, schools like that.
Patriot League. Yep.
That were
I
recruiting
got
me
you.
basketball wise. And
Wow.
so when Hofstra and UConn came at me, I took them very seriously, extremely serious.
That
And
is
that's,
crazy.
yeah, I really didn't get recruited, like
Well,
highly recruited.
it's crazy because Gino Carmazzi ended up going to Hofstra, and
Yes.
I think he got drafted in like he was like the 3rd pick of the draft,
Yeah.
and you ended up going to UConn.
Hmm.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Did you take 2 visits? Did you go to Hofstra and UConn, or did you just take 1 visit?
I took the visit to UConn, and after I went there, man,
You were done.
I was done, man. The camaraderie at UConn, the togetherness, like all that kind of stuff. It was there even before, you know, the class, like myself,
Yeah.
Shank, Phil, Courtney Williams, all those guys, that.
They all
that
talked about you.
class.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys, we all came in together, and it was just kind of like meant to be. And yeah,
Yeah.
it was an awesome experience, brother. It was an awesome experience on my recruiting visit.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Man, this guy Dennis Moynihan, he was like the guy that drove everybody around. He came in at
Yeah.
6 in the morning, and I think I just got back in.
Oh God.
He was like, "We gotta go." He's doing like 90, and he was like, "We're
Oh
gonna
my
be late."
God. Ah, that was awful. I
Yeah.
remember those recruiting visits. They let us take a nap because everyone was so messed up the next day. Coach Ethel said, "All right, you guys can go back and nap for a few hours because nobody's
Nice.
paying attention to anything anyway. So go right ahead." So you took your visit,
Mhm.
and was this the first year that Skip was the head coach, or his second year?
It was the first year. Yep,
It
I
was
was
his
his
first
first
year.
recruiting
Okay.
class. All of us were. Yeah.
And yeah, so Skip signed you, and he signed Shank, and you guys had an incredible class, and he had a plan, and this plan was to redshirt all of you. I remember that's what Shank said.
Hmm.
And Shank was pissed about it. He said he was really kind of pissed because I don't know if it happened to you, but and the same thing with Phil Hunt, he said the same thing. He
Hmm.
said on the recruiting visit, they told him you could come and play right away.
Right.
And then they got him there and they said, "Oh, by the way, you're redshirting."
Yeah.
And they were both furious about it. So I was curious if if they told you the same thing about playing right away or redshirting.
Yeah. Not only did they say talk about, well, here's what they told me: you'll have a chance to play. You'll have a chance to compete.
Okay.
Um, that's
Okay,
how.
that's a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'll never forget when I went on the visit. So Skip found out that you know basketball was like my thing, and he asked me. He
Wow.
said, "Well, if we offer you, will you take it? And what would make you say?" I said, "Well, I got two hands. I could put a football in this hand and a basketball in this hand."
You
And
really said that?
I said that to him. Yep.
That's awesome.
And
That's
I said
awesome.
I can dominate both of them. And he
You
looked
said that
at
to
me.
Skip Holtz.
Absolutely did.
That's freaking awesome.
You got to have some kind of swag about
I
you,
love it. I love it.
um, and then I also remember he said, "Do you have any questions for me?" I said, "Yeah. How do you feel about a freshman leading your team?"
Wow.
He looked at the offensive coordinator at the time. His name
Nobody
was
says
Richard
that.
Davis, and they just kind of like, Does this kid really just
Is
say that?"
is he serious? Yeah.
Yeah, I was dead ass
Wow.
serious. Like I
I'm
was
sure
dead
you were.
serious. And I'll never forget though, man. We used to me, Shank, all that whole class. Man, we went into every practice
Oh
trying to
my
show
God.
them that we deserve to be on the field. Like,
Shank told me that all the time you would go against the defense and you
yep,
would just light them up. And it would
absolutely,
be run it again,
yeah,
run it again, run
yeah.
it again. And he told me a story like where you said, "Okay, run the same route. I'm going to throw it to the back shoulder. Run the
Yes,
same route. I'm going to throw it low." He said you just tore them up, and then
yeah.
finally you said, "Okay, they've had enough," and you let them get a win on the
I
play.
just purposely threw a pick
Yes,
so they could be
yes, he
happy.
told me
Yep.
he
Yeah.
told me that story. He said that you guys just
Yeah.
completely decimated them,
And
and
that's,
and he
yep.
that was the attitude you had. He said you didn't give a fuck. You said, "We're gonna go after him. I don't care,"
Yep.
because you were all pissed. Like
We
everyone was
tried to
pissed they were
embarrass them
redshirted.
every week. Every week. Yeah. And I'll tell you where it really hit home. We lost to Yale
Yale,
my
yes,
redshirt freshman year.
Shank said that. Yes,
And that's where all of us, because I will give Skip, like he knew that he had something special in our class.
yes.
Um, and he would take us on all the road trips. Only a certain amount of guys, but
Oh, he let you travel.
he would let us travel, absolutely, because he wanted us to
That,
experience all that stuff.
that's
And
a
so
that's a
that
huge
way,
deal.
Yeah, so that way when the next year came or whenever we would get in, we weren't like in awe of all this
Shell
stuff.
shock,
And
right?
yeah, exactly. So I'll never forget though that Yale game when we got beat by them. We're supposed to
Oh,
kick Yale's ass
I
every
heard.
year,
I heard.
and we were all on the sidelines like, "Yo, we got to change this. This can't happen again." And yeah, we took that personal. We really, really did. And it
That made the
Skip had a
difference.
plan, man. He did. He
He
really did.
did. He did. Because I remember Carl told me his biggest fear was Skip leaving, and
Hmm.
he had asked Skip. He's basically like, "Are you going to be here?" And
Yes.
Skip kind of guaranteed him, "I will be here for your entire career." And Phil Hunt also said that.
Yes.
So I mean, he at least promised 5 years to those guys, to your
Yep.
to your class,
Yep.
which was I mean, it ended up being 5 years. So that's just wow, that's incredible. So you went in to your sophomore year or you read your freshman year, and you were not the starter, correct? And
Absolutely.
then and then somebody got hurt or somebody wasn't playing well,
Mhm.
and it was a Wally Pipp situation with Lou Gehrig, and they put you in, and it never looked back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Is that what it
exactly
was?
right. So my redshirt sophomore year, so my second year there,
Yep.
basically we had brought a guy by the name of Brandon Bailey in. He transferred in from West Virginia.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
and yeah, Brandon, you talk about a wild guy. He's awesome, man. He's doing really well coaching out in Western PA right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got Redlands, I think is the name of the high school, if I'm not mistaken. But he comes from a football family. Was at West Virginia. He was looking to get out of there because they had like starter. He was like the fourth, fifth string quarterback on the
Yeah.
roster,
Yeah, it's a
and
Big East.
yeah, seriously at the time, and so it became him and Zeke Rogers, and so Coach Holtz was kind of mixing them both in, and Brandon ended up getting the starting job, and they moved Zeke and to a wide receiver and this and that. And
Oh,
Brandon
okay.
was having some. He wasn't playing well, and against the University of Buffalo, I think we were down like 22 to
I heard
nothing or
this.
something,
Yes. Yep, I heard this
and
story too.
yeah, it was a 4th and 3, and I'll tell you this was this is why I'm saying my high school career and my college career and even my career in the arena league all are very similar. How I
Mirrored
got
each
the
other.
position,
Right.
and so he wasn't playing well. He turned the ball over, and Skip said, "Shane, get loose. You're going in." We ended up winning that game because now
Big.
I didn't say the
Yeah.
same play, same play, same play.
Yeah, you had the
We
freedom.
right, and not only that, just better coached than being in high school and stuff like that. So it was a
And
fourth and
you were
three.
one of the first teams that went 11 personnel as a base, didn't you? Didn't you guys go 11 as a base, one
We
tight
did.
end, three receivers? Because that wasn't the norm at the time. Everyone was, two backs, two receivers. I
Hmm.
always remembered you guys were 11 personnel, which
We
was a
my
little
senior
different.
year we started to do that. Otherwise,
Okay.
we'd be more in like a you know it wasn't until we
Well,
typically
he ran the ball because I remember Shank said that they tried to be Lou Holtz at Notre Dame
yes,
and run the ball. Shank
yeah.
told me that.
Give me
He tried to be like
T.
his
Did he say
dad.
that?
Yes, he did. He told me that. He said that that's what they tried early on. Like it was run the ball and power football.
Yep.
And then Skip finally came around. I don't know when, but
Hmm.
he cut you loose. But it wasn't your sophomore year.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't until my true like my redshirt junior year
Okay.
that he allowed me to kind of do some things. And I wish that, man, nowadays I wish we would have ran like the little
The zone read
option
stuff.
zone read, all that stuff, man, because
The
But back
power
then, all
ride
you did,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, gosh, that would have been awesome to do all that. And now I'm in complete control because you got to remember, like as a
Everything's called
guard,
at the line. Yeah.
yeah, in high school, man, I saw everything. So as a football player, like I would see things, but I was limited. I wasn't allowed to check. Now, granted, to his point, to Skip's point, I'll never forget my redshirt freshman year. I had two really bad picks. One, we lost to Rhode Island. It was in pouring down rain, and I threw an out route to the left. It got pick six, and we ended up losing by like whatever, a touchdown. And then I think the very next week, we lost to James Madison, and I checked into a three-step, and they baited me into that.
Were you under center or in the
I
gun?
was under center. Yes,
Oh, that's tough. That screws
it
up your
is.
timing, and you can't go back to the other side. 3 steps
Man,
predetermined, right?
absolutely. Yep, you're
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah. Well,
and
I coached. I mean, I coached at the college level for 10 years.
yeah,
So I know that 3 steps predetermined. It's pre-snap. You
yeah,
determine which side you're going to.
and you
So
work
if
that
that side's
side. Yep.
not there, you can't go back.
Yeah, because you're not deep enough to like
No,
to reset and go to the other side. You're
correct.
only at like 4.5 yards as opposed to 5.5, 6 yards.
And
So
your line's cutting, and guys are getting up. It's a
absolutely.
mess. Okay.
Yeah, and they're all at your feet, ankle. Yeah. So um I wish that I had a chance to play in that kind of atmosphere in the gun and just
Yeah.
sit back there. Like when I started playing in NFL Europe and I started getting in the shotgun and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, man, it's so easy to see things from back here.
It
Like
is.
no field.
It's life changing.
Right. No
That's
doubt.
crazy. So, do you remember your sophomore year? What your numbers were? Did you guys go 6-5?
Yeah, I think we had a subpar year. Like it
Yeah.
was probably the worst year during my career there. Because my
Okay.
freshman year we went 8-3 and we thought we were gonna make the playoffs.
Correct.
Um, and then the next year, yeah, we struggled. And the next year we struggled a little bit. And then we got a guy by the name of Dactavian Newton that came in, transferred in from a junior college, hell of an athlete from Norwalk, Connecticut. And he allowed Shank then to go to the backside. So now,
Right.
and then
He's at the
and then
boundary.
yeah, he's 1-on-1. So we're never. But
Yeah.
he then it wasn't explained to me when I could go to him. It wasn't until my senior year where I really started to kind of understand all this stuff. And now, if it's 1-on-1, and I know I got a
Take it.
matchup with Shank versus whoever, I'm taking a shot. You best believe that. And so
Did
Dak
Skip
went and
call the
played the slot.
plays?
No, Todd did.
Todd did.
Fitch.
Okay.
hmm
Okay. So
But
you
Skip
had
would
Shank.
override him if he wanted to.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So you had Shank at the boundary. I know you had Torrey Taylor,
Yes.
and then you were gonna say someone was in the slot.
Yeah. So well, Torrey took over that slot position when
Okay.
Dactavian Newton when he graduated. So
Okay.
Torrey was our running back his freshman year.
I know that.
Yep. And so then when Dak graduated, we ended up moving Torrey to the slot. And
And
that
Reed
just,
Cullen played and Chandler played, right?
yep, Barry Chandler and Ricolin. And then we got Fitzsimmons, John Fitzsimmons.
Fitzy. Yep.
And man, you talk about, come on, man. Who?
There was a squad. No, I know.
Yeah. It's,
Dan Dagden was your
yep.
tight end.
And I don't know if you, yeah, Degnan and Burton, all those guys. But I don't know if you know this story. We almost had Randy Moss.
I did not know that
Yeah.
story. He was going to transfer from Notre Dame, or was it Notre
Yeah.
Dame or Florida?
So
It was Notre Dame, right?
so check this out. So no, he was at Notre Dame,
Yep.
and then he got in trouble. Then he went to Florida State,
Florida
and
State,
this is
right?
how we had that connection. Because remember now, um, Skip was at Florida State. That's how he met
Yes,
his wife. He was coaching at Florida State. He
correct.
met his wife at Florida State, and that's how he had a connection with Randy Moss and Bobby Bowden and all that kind of stuff. And the only reason we didn't get him was because I'll never forget this conversation. He goes, Shane, I might have a receiver that'll change our life. I said, what? He goes, hopefully, if things go well, we'll
Skip
get him.
said this?
Yeah. And yeah, I didn't know who Randy Moss was and stuff.
Yeah.
But the only reason we didn't get him is he wasn't allowed to leave the state of West Virginia unless he had written consent by his probation officer. So he couldn't
Approval.
leave and live
Oh
out of
my
state.
God.
Yep.
Oh, so that's why he went to Marshall.
That's why he went to Marshall, yes. So
I
instead of
did not
Chad
know that
Pennington, it might be
story.
Shane Stafford getting drafted by the Jets.
Oh, oh my God.
I'm just kidding, but
That's crazy.
yeah,
So you
man.
got to meet him and everything.
No, he wasn't even allowed to come for the visit.
Oh, he couldn't come for the visit because he
No.
would have violated probation.
Yeah, they were
God.
just talking to him, and they were hoping that, you know, if he
Got consent.
if he got consent, yeah, that he would be able to come to the University of Connecticut. So yeah, that didn't work out, obviously.
I mean, so obviously you're the GOAT. I mean, you're one of the best quarterbacks in UConn history, statistically and winning wise. I mean, you
I
had.
appreciate that.
I mean, believe me. I mean, you're honestly the reason I came to UConn because
Wow.
I was recruited and I was offered as a junior, and
Wow.
I was like, UConn's got football. Like I didn't know anything about it, and then I want my dream was to go to Syracuse. I would have sucked a dick to go to Syracuse.
That was
probably.
my dream school for basketball, brother. I'm with you.
So, my dad forced me to go out to a game, and I went to the UMass game, and holy shit, I
Yeah.
was just blown away. What a freaking game in Storrs.
Yeah.
And Coach Guglielmo, he was there just spitting everywhere, talking to me about,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this, this, and this. And I had Bevel. Bevel was recruiting me at the time. It was amazing. It was just such an amazing atmosphere. And that's when, like, Shank told me when you guys first came in, they had told you guys that you were going to go 1A.
Yes.
I had no idea of that talks were going on that early about going 1A and into the Big East. So that was another reason. But that was incredible. I didn't know that, like, in 94, 95, 96, that Lou Perkins, rest in peace, the man,
Right.
was already having thoughts of making UConn into a big time program. Did you have expectations that you would get a chance to play 1A at some point?
We did. We truly did. I remember, unfortunately, I wasn't on the same recruiting visit, that Shank was and some of those guys. But, yeah, they did tell us that, by our senior year, we should be playing some 1A schools.
Right. And you did. You played Buffalo.
Yeah, but they were 1AA at the time. So
They were 1A when you played them.
they were?
Yeah.
We beat the piss out of them.
I know you did.
Yeah. Laban
They
ran a
were in
touchdown.
the
I
back.
think he had an interception for a touchdown. Defense, I think, scored like two tugs in that game. But
Yep.
yeah, we beat the piss out of them. Boy, golly,
So
I didn't
did
know they were, honestly.
Yeah, they were. Did they say that they were gonna build a stadium on campus at the time? Did they mention anything about that?
They
Or
didn't
did they?
have any idea.
Okay.
There were
That's
so
what I was
many.
curious.
Yeah, there were so many rumors going around. They didn't really, say
Nothing
anything.
came into it. Right.
Yeah.
But talking to Shank and talking to Phil Hunt, and talking to Laban, they all said the senior year, your fifth year,
Mhm.
Skip had a plan. He redshirted you, and he said the difference was 98% of the team stayed
Yeah.
up that entire summer and trained together. And it wasn't just training together. He said it was you hung out together
Yes.
and you got to know each other personally, which you didn't before. And you made connections and bonds and relationships that you still have today. Burton, Jamie Harper, Courtney Williams, Dennis
Mm,
Callahan, Campoli, Darby, all those guys, Dagden. I mean, my God, Jamie Lankitis. I mean, you guys, Ryan Timko,
yeah.
JY,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting
unbelievable.
chills,
Jeff
man. You saying all
Galuska.
these names.
Well, because I was I mean, I was a fan. I was a
Yeah,
fan after that UMass game. Like,
yeah,
I never in a million years imagined going to UConn. Like, I just never imagined it.
yeah.
But I went to the UMass game and was blown away. And then I went to the second UMass game recruited by UMass because
Oh
UMass
shit. Yeah,
recruited me, and you guys won at UMass,
yeah,
and I was sold.
yeah.
I was like, I'm ready to go. And it was funny because Skip left
Mm-hmm.
and Randy came in, and I had committed like after Skip left, which was probably the stupidest thing I could have done. But I was afraid, and I remember talking to Cliff Snow. Cliff's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, well, we're here," because I was like, "Is the staff gonna be there?" And Cliff's like, "Well, we're gonna be here for now." And I was like, "Okay, I'll commit." And then Randy came in, and I know Randy dropped a lot of guys. I have no idea why he kept me. That was amazing. That was amazing. But you guys that year, like everything came together. You
Dude.
ran the ball well. You had a two-tier running back system.
Mm-hmm.
You had, three great receivers, a great tight end,
Mm-hmm.
and you just the GOAT as the quarterback running the show. Just talk about that year a little bit for me. Talk about some memories you have from '98.
Sure. Yeah. First and foremost, I mean, you talk about Cliff Snow. You talk about one of the better human beings ever in life.
Nicest guy,
That
nicest
guy
guy.
is like awesome, man. He never has. I don't think he has a bad bone in his body, but that's awesome though that you brought his name up because that dude, he did every and anything he could
He
for us.
did. He
He
did, I
really
know.
did. But yeah, that year is, I say to this day, and obviously,
It's the best year in UConn history.
yeah, yeah, it's one of. I know
No,
when
it
Dan,
is the best. I mean, you had
yeah,
10 wins. You were 10-3.
yeah,
You won the only playoff game ever
yeah,
in UConn history.
yeah,
I mean, it's the best season.
yeah,
I know UConn went to the Fiesta Bowl, which is
right,
wonderful, but I mean, they had 8 wins.
yeah,
You had 10, and
yeah,
you beat the national champion twice,
twice, yeah,
not
yeah,
once,
yeah.
twice.
I know. I'll tell you, there's so many memories from that. Man, so many memories.
'Cause I also went to the Colgate game because you had a barn burner against Colgate. Because
Oh
'cause I'm
man,
from Utica, New York, so I
yeah,
went to Colgate,
yeah.
and so I went to 3 games, and I
That
remember
was
that
the
game
opening.
too.
That was the opening game, I think. And matter of fact, that game I should have thrown for 6 touchdowns. But
Oh, it was amazing,
yeah,
and
Shank, and I still bust Shank's ass a lot, um, for getting tackled at like the 2 yard line, and then we run it in. I would have like 10 more
yeah,
touchdowns if he didn't
you
get
told me
tackled at
that.
the one.
Yeah.
It's always mess with him, but that guy's made more plays than he did getting
Oh, I
tackled at the
know.
one. That's for
You
sure.
guys you guys both had amazing
But
careers at UConn and arena careers, and I remember he
yeah.
told me a story that before the game, like, Mike Golden made a speech about running through a brick wall or something at Colgate. And he's
Uh,
like, can you guys run through this brick wall?" And everyone's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "No, no, you can't. And you gotta go around it." He said something stupid like that. I remember they were telling me the story. I don't know if I have it right, but
I honestly, I don't know. I didn't listen to half the stuff he said
yeah,
during
I know.
because he was great to listen to before you went in and lifted, but
Yeah,
I had to
not
stay within my own mental. I tried to
not on
do
game
it.
day.
Yeah, not on game day, but Colgate was a hell of a coming
That was a
out
great
party for us
game.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had over 500 yards of offense and
Oh, you scored
over
40 something
yeah
points. I mean,
yeah
it was
we
amazing.
yeah and yeah, so that was a good coming out party for us, and kind of showed like what we could do offensively, and then yeah, we just went throughout that season. But my senior year, obviously, I ended up doing something to my left shoulder all in one
Right.
hit, and then I broke my collarbone and ended up still throwing a touchdown for like consecutive games, throwing
I
touchdowns. I
heard,
think it was
yeah.
on that play, and I know if I don't miss those 4 games, I always joke with my family about this. Like when we see Orlovsky on ESPN and everything,
Oh,
and
I
it
know.
says like UConn all-time leading passer. I'm like, man, if I didn't miss those 4 games, he would
Yeah.
always be like second.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
know,
it's
I
all
know.
good, man. It's the competitive part of part of you that comes out.
But
But
you
anyway,
still had an incredible year. I mean,
yeah, no, we ended up, man, did
10
we
and
ever?
3
Yeah, 10-3, and host that was the coolest thing, is hosting a playoff game
against
in
Hampton.
Storrs.
Yeah.
Man, that place was, we had like 18-20,000. Like the
Yeah.
place was, packed,
It was
for
rocking.
us. And yeah, man, we ended up winning that game, and I'll never forget. I told Skip, he was like, you could tell his asshole was puckered. I said, Coach, we got this.
We're
Call whatever
good.
you want. And yeah, he never forgot that either. But I'm like, dude, relax, we got this. But then we go down to
Georgia
man,
Southern.
we went down to Georgia Southern, and you go from playing in 45, 50-degree weather to playing in 90-degree weather. I remember guys getting IVs and different things at
Yeah.
halftime. And yeah, they just ran us. They ran the
Well,
ball.
Phil said that you guys changed your entire defense because, they ran the triple option.
Yeah,
And he thought that was the issue. He said we should have just went in and played our stuff, and our offense was good enough. If we got a couple stops,
yeah,
our offense could have, executed and made up the difference.
yeah,
And, because UMass beat them, and
yeah.
and you guys would have beat UMass. I mean, that would have been amazing to play UMass for a third time.
That
But
would have been incredible.
do you remember specifically your statistics from that year at all? Do you remember
No,
yardage, touchdowns?
no, no.
But I mean, you threw over 20 touchdowns. I mean, you had over 2,000, 3,000 yards passing. I mean,
No.
you were you didn't throw a lot of interceptions.
No,
I
that
mean,
was the big thing with Skip. You can't throw
you can't
picks.
turn it
Like,
over.
you cannot do it. And the thing about our offense, Steve, is the fact that it was every year from my sophomore to my senior year, I had a receiver that averaged basically 20 yards a catch.
A catch, correct.
So we were kind of like a big play kind of passing.
You were.
Um, we
Well,
didn't
because
have like our
you
check.
could do it all.
Yeah, our check down game wasn't big. We didn't have running backs that could really catch. They were more
No.
downhill. I'll tell you, our best receiver out of the backfield was our fullback, Chad
Was
Martin.
was Chad rest
Yeah,
RIP Chad Martin.
yeah, seriously, R.I.P. Man. Um,
He was a
that
legend.
dude, he was a stud. Like
And you had Fezzi.
yeah, but he was just a big battering ram, man. He was.
Yeah,
You ever seen? Yeah, have you ever seen a cartoon He-Man?
of course.
I used to call him Ram Man. You know who I'm talking about?
That's great.
He looked just like him, especially in
That's
a
great.
uniform, man. And he was just like, he didn't. Okay, Shane. Puff, I got you.
Oh my god. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Him and Chad Martin, man, we had some tough ass fullbacks.
Oh,
And
you
then
got
the guy
you
before him,
guys.
Ed Duck.
Yeah, you guys were the last group that were badasses. Like that group that you played with, just tough dudes and grown men. I mean, Lou Wagner was one of them. He was older. I mean, you had just some tough, badass
Yeah.
players.
Lou
I remember
Wagner came in at like 26.
25. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
25.
I
Because,
remember when I came to freshman camp
uh-huh.
and I'm looking across, there's Chad Cook on one side, Ron Gamble. I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I remember like the first week, I don't think I touched anyone. I'm playing tackle. I
Yeah.
couldn't block anyone. And then
Big
and
Cook.
then I was terrified of Chad Cook. Like I
Man,
would
who
I
wasn't?
I
That dude.
I couldn't talk to him. I wouldn't look at him. I would just put my head down and walk by him.
Yeah.
And they're like, he's a captain, right? Like you got to say something to him. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And they put me against him in one-on-ones. And
Shit.
I was like, really? And Maurice Wilson, Maurice is like, get the fuck in there. It's like, oh
Yeah.
God, okay. And I had to go against him, and he just freaking just tossed me.
He's so strong.
Oh, he just had man strength.
Yep.
And I had like one of the I mean, I had the highest freshman bench press record
Yep.
out of our class. I benched like I think I benched 405.
Damn.
So they
With your
thought
long
like
arms?
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
impressive, man.
Yeah, I came in at 405.
Damn.
Um and I was close to 500 near the end, but
Wow.
they put me against them. I just got destroyed. And then, after 2 weeks of getting destroyed, I finally said, "Well, fuck it, I got nothing to lose." And I
Yeah.
just started playing, harder and not giving a fuck. And
Exactly.
I
That's what it comes down to. Not
it
giving a
it
fuck.
really does. It
Exactly
really
right.
does.
Yep.
And that's when I did better, and they put me in the 2 deep, and I got to travel and play as a freshman.
Awesome.
But, you had such an incredible career. Did you sign with an agent right away out of college? I mean, because obviously you had aspirations to play professionally, and you played in several different leagues. Did you sign with an agent right away, or did you pursue certain agents?
I did end up signing with an agent. He was out of Massachusetts.
Okay.
It was kind of more of this is what you're supposed to do kind of a deal, you know.
Yeah.
I will say he did take care of me. He sent me down to Atlanta, Georgia to train with
Oh, wow.
absolutely the best trainer.
So
He's
he
still,
paid for you to go down there and train, and you
yep.
went on. Did you go on weekends or?
No, I lived down there for a month
Oh,
in Atlanta.
wow.
He
Oh,
sent
wow.
myself and three other guys that he had signed.
Was Tory Taylor one of them? Because I know he went to Jacksonville.
No, Tori was with somebody else.
Oh, he was.
But
Okay.
yeah, he didn't sign anybody from UConn. This guy.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, he sent three guys. Like one guy was from I think K State, another guy was from
Wow.
HBCU, another guy I forget where
Wow.
he was from.
So this guy recruited everyone.
Yeah, he was all over the place, and
Did
he
he
was an attorney. Yeah,
did
but
he have a did he have a good reputation? Did he have guys in the league at all, or was he someone who was just trying to be an agent?
he was a guy that was starting to get into it, but he
Yes.
knew a
Okay.
guy by the name of Chip Smith, and I would
Okay.
imagine you might have heard of him. I don't know if you have, but Chip,
I haven't.
hands down, is he's trained probably 300 over 300 first round draft picks. Like
Oh
you
my
go to Chip
God.
Smith if you want to like get better. If
So he's
you
like Parisi's in New Jersey.
absolutely, but before
Okay.
Parisi was Parisi, you know what I mean? Like this
Okay.
is yeah, and he changed my game. Like this is when I started doing band work and overspeed and resistance
Yeah.
training and position specific training and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna put it to you like this: when the NFL came and worked us out at UConn, we had some terrible conditions. Like we were in the old
Oh, the blue gym.
student gym, whatever that thing was,
Yeah.
and it had these beads on the floor. Everybody's slipping
Oh,
around, and
it's awful.
yeah, it was terrible. And so I had an awful workout. I think my short
Oh,
shuttle was like a
you
five.
did you did your pro day there?
Yeah,
Oh my
everybody had
God.
an awful pro day.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can't there's nothing you can wear on your feet. I
Nothing.
mean, I don't know what shoes to wear on that turf.
Yeah,
That
nothing.
was the old school AstroTurf.
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, but Chip ended up. My 40 went from a 5 flat to a 4.7 something, and then my short shuttle, like I had one of the fastest short shuttles when I went to, this was back in the day when the XFL first started, and I ran like a 4.19, and when I ran it at UConn, I ran like a
Ooh,
5 flat, and it's all about
there's
technique and my
that's a
basketball.
huge difference.
Yeah,
A
so like
a
receivers were like, damn.
4.1 is
Yeah,
incredible.
I had the fastest quarterback time. Like
Yeah,
Danny Cannell was there, and some of these
yeah.
other Division I athlete, like
Oh my
big time
God.
quarterbacks. I ran a 4.19 in the short shuttle, and they were like, "Damn, are you a receiver?" I was like, "No, quarterback." Like, okay. And yeah, long story short, with that, Tom Luganbill, I don't know if you remember that name. He's on ESPN now doing all that stuff, but he used to coach it with the arena football team in Tennessee with the Tennessee Valley Vipers.
The
But he got
Vipers.
a
Yep.
job with the XFL at the time. I forget what league it was, but he was like, just keep doing your job, keep doing your thing. Like, it's just all about the name, though. Coming from UConn and all that kind of stuff, it's all about the uphill battle. And yeah,
Yeah,
I had
it's
great,
tough.
and it's all because of Chip. Like Chip Smith, he changed. Like my 40 went from a 5.1 to a 4.7. Like I said, my short shuttle went from
That's
whatever to
amazing.
a 4.19. The L drill, I don't even remember what I did
The
there.
L drill was stupid.
That is dumb, but
Nobody liked the L drill.
I mean, what is that going to help you with?
I never understood the L drill. You run an L and run around. It was a complete waste of time.
Or the
I mean,
40. I mean, why are you running 40 yards downfield?
they whenever I did workouts, I would have to run the 40, but they would time me in like the 10.
Yes,
Like that would be my split. That would be all they cared about. But
that's
we had
dumb.
to run the 40, which I thought was dumb as hell. Yes, I
Dumb.
agree.
Yeah.
And then it was then obviously position drills. So
Yes.
you actually, I mean, that's got to be one of the first times UConn had a pro day. And how many teams showed up, would you say, to look at
I,
you?
I think it
You
was only
guys.
like 4 teams, but they weren't
Yeah.
even there to look at me. They were all there to look at Chad Martin. I
Sh-
mean, you got a
Yeah.
guy that he ran a 4.5 at 250, 6'1". Like Chad
I had no
was,
idea. Wow.
yeah, Chad was a major big time recruit. I guess his grades just weren't good enough at the time.
Yeah.
So to go to Ohio State was recruiting him. All the Big Ten schools were recruiting him because he's an Ohio guy, and like his dream school was Ohio State. But yeah, man, that guy, you talk about a beast of an athlete,
Yeah.
tough as
Yeah.
nails. But yeah, like you said, God rest his soul. But that dude was a hell of. He was. I wish the offense that we ran, I wish it would be more like the offenses now, because we could have put him at like an H back kind of a thing. We could have went in like
Yeah.
we could have went
Yeah.
freaking 10 personnel and put him at fullback, and now you run a quarterback lead. And
Yep.
or you could just run a zone read with him because he was athletic enough. He could outrun most of the
Yeah.
DBs,
Yeah. You
and now
could,
you have
and then he
40.
could he
You
could
got
he
you
could
got
jump
Shank.
into 12 personnel too with him. I'm sure he could jump on the line and play tight end.
Absolutely, you're
So
100%
that would have the
right.
versatility. Yeah.
Yep. And but we were simple. We were very simple on offense, but we executed well. And
Very well. Yes.
yeah, that's what made
So
us good.
coming out, did you go to camp with anyone or did you jump right into playing arena ball?
Man, Shank didn't tell you any of this.
Uh, no,
A little
Shank. I
bit.
mean, Shank did not tell me this. No.
Okay, so here's this story. This is how we both got into arena football. It was like Thursday night, Friday morning. He comes to my house in PA. He drives from Connecticut down to PA. Shank being Shank, he's always late. So we were supposed to leave my place in PA and drive down to Florida. And what we were going to do was go to all the arena teams on the East Coast, the Arena 2 teams, because
They
there were
have
like
two. Yeah.
5 or 6 of them at the time back in
Right.
2000.
Correct.
So he comes to my house. He doesn't get there till like 3 a.m. We leave at 4 a.m. He's like, I'm tired. I was like, no worries. I slept until you got here. And we drive down together, just taking turns. And we ended up staying at a friend's house down in Tallahassee, Florida. We got down there like late
Oh my
Friday night. We had a
God.
workout Saturday morning. We
That's
worked out.
amazing.
They signed Shank immediately because he just stood out, like, hands down. He was by far the best wide receiver out there. They weren't sure on me yet because the head coach, Gene McDowell, he had a friend. He used to coach at UCF, and he got in trouble with the cell phone issue because he
Yeah,
allowed some of his athletes to use a cell phone.
correct.
Not trying to
Right.
hurt anybody. He's just, hey, you
No,
want to talk to
it's a
dumb shit
stupid
that
rule.
the
Yeah.
NCAA does.
Yeah.
And at the time. And next thing you know, I get a call Sunday saying, hey, we want to sign to both of you. So we end up driving. We're like, okay, I guess we don't have to stop in Georgia. I guess we don't like we drive straight back to the Northeast. And yeah, so that's kind of how we got our start in Arena 2. Like it
What
was just a
what
random
team was
road
it?
trip. It
What
was
team was it?
Tallahassee Thunder.
Oh my God, I never even heard of that team. It was the
Yeah,
Tallahassee Thunder that you
Tallahassee Thunder.
that you started with. Okay.
Yep,
So
yep,
you both played a year of Arena 2,
yep,
AF2,
yep.
and then from there, did you go to NFL Europe or did you go to Orlando,
No, that's when I went to Tampa next
Tampa? Okay.
to the Storm, Tampa Bay Storm under Tim Markham.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because
He
yeah,
was a legend.
2001. That was tough for me. I mean, because that was the first time I ever had to sit, even in Tallahassee. So again, my career mirroring,
Yes.
like, high school, college, and now in arena football. And this isn't even done yet, but the starter ends up getting hurt. I go in, never look back again.
Right.
Ended up throwing, I think, like 80 something touchdowns, and Shank caught half of them. Like we
Yes.
just truly had an
In
unbelievable connection
Tallahassee.
in Tallahassee.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So then I go to Tampa with Tampa Bay Storm, and then I had to sit behind John Caleo, who was like a 6-year vet of the Arena League. And that was a tough year because I never had to sit for an entire year as a backup.
Did Shank go
So
to Columbus then? Was that when he went to
I
Columbus or
forget
no?
where he went after that. I think it was. It might have been.
Okay.
I'm not sure where he went exactly. I think it was Columbus.
Yeah.
That was tough though because Shank and I played
You
together
yeah, you guys
for
were
like
best
6 years.
friends. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my boy. That was my dog, and I was trying to get him down there.
Yeah.
And John Caleo, who's the biggest ass in the world,
Yeah.
but I respect his grind as far as being a competitor and whatnot. But he always used to talk all this kind of. He was just worried about me taking his job, which I ended up doing. And then
Correct.
I was trying to get Shank down in Tampa, and I said, Coach, you got to get this guy, man. Yeah, like he's a little slow, but he's great for this game. Like he's a great double
He's
move
perfect
guy.
for
He's
it.
strong.
Yep.
He can
Great route
play.
runner.
Yeah, great route runner. He can play DB. He could be an OS. He could play your jack
That's
position slash
true.
wide
That's
receiver.
true. Wow, I didn't even think about that. He can return kicks. Yeah, you're
He can
right.
return kicks. Yeah, like he's multiple positions, and that's what you
I
want from
forgot.
arena
Yeah.
football. Yep.
You had to play
And
both
so,
ways. That's when I remember I had to play defense.
yeah,
That was an experience.
I'm sure it
So
was the first time.
yeah, I ran when I used to run down on kickoff, I'd run away. I'd run away. I didn't want to get hit. I didn't want to make a tackle. I just didn't want to get touched.
Yeah,
I hated running down on special teams. I hated kick return and kickoff. Those were the two I did not want to do. So you played for the Storm,
hmm
and at the time there was a salary cap, right? In the AFL.
yes,
Okay. And then, you know, that's when the money started flowing in and teams started becoming profitable. And did you is that when you transitioned, you got signed by Orlando and Orlando gave you a better contract,
Well,
and
no,
a couple of years
Tampa,
later,
yeah, but also the opportunity to play with Jay Gruden.
yeah, he was a
Turn a light
great
on
guy.
real quick. Um, if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of pull this with me, but and turn a light on. It's getting dark over here.
That's okay.
But yeah, so Jay, the reason I signed with them is I just truly thought like I was, I thought I tapped out at in Tampa, and that
So
wasn't.
it was really like depression setting in because you had to sit that year.
Well, no, not necessarily, because I started for Tampa
Yeah,
for
you
5
did.
years,
Yeah.
and it was the reason I ended up going to Orlando from Tampa was simply the fact that opportunity to play under Jay, and here's a guy that everybody said I reminded them of, playing at in
Yeah, because he played several years. He played many years in the Arena League.
yeah, and he won like 4 championships in Tampa, and everybody's talking about with the Storm. Everybody's saying how I remind them of him, and being tough, standing in there, making the throws, getting up, being a good leader, that kind of stuff. And so when I had the opportunity to go play for him, I said, why not?
Let me ask you this, because when I coached, we always used to have this discussion about leadership.
Mm,
In my opinion, you either have it or you don't. You're either born a leader or you're not a leader. I don't think leadership necessarily is something you can develop or cultivate. Maybe you can develop it a little bit, but
mm.
you either are a leader or you're not. And I think you were definitely a leader. Do you feel that, or do you think leadership is something that you can develop and you can teach?
I honestly, I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I think I think the more opportunities that you have to show that you have leadership capabilities, it's definitely going to help you. Now, do you have that confidence to tell people, "I got you. Put your trust in me. Put your faith in me.
yeah,
Follow me." And now you have to do everything you say,
yeah,
and not only that, lead by example. And that's something I think our class did. We didn't have a
yes.
lot of people that were, big talkers and,
You led by
amping up.
example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we lead by example. And so to your question, though, I think you're right. I think it's you. Some people just are too shy to take
Introverted. Yep.
that. Yeah, introverted, exactly, to take that leadership role. Doesn't mean they can't be good leaders. They just lead now in a different way.
Correct.
Um, and there's all kind. But when you're a quarterback and you go into the huddle, like I said earlier, you have to exude that confidence. You have to
You do.
exude all that. And the way I always thought is just getting up after every hit as soon as possible and being the first one and tapping that defensive end on the ass and saying, "Hey,
Yep.
great hit,"
Yep.
and
Keep
then when
bringing
I
it.
get in the huddle, because the thing is, I'll never forget. Jamie Harper said this to me one time, and man, he goes, "Pup," he said, "Man, I appreciate you getting rid of the ball and taking that hit. I won't let it happen again." I said, "Jamie, don't worry about it, man. It's football. It happens." You know?
I used to tell Orlovsky, I said, Dan, you got 3 seconds. I can
Yeah,
get in his way for 3 seconds. Then I'm letting him go. You're on your own. So
yeah.
you better get rid of it.
Hell yeah. Hey, and you know what? You got to respect that though. Like that's everybody's job, and our
Yeah.
job as
Yeah.
quarterbacks sometimes is to take a good shot, take a good lick,
And
and get
arena
up.
is tougher because you're throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game. I mean, and
Well,
you're 3 step
90%
and
of
you're
yeah,
cutting.
yeah, absolutely. And there's nowhere to run out of bounds. That was a welcoming.
You can't. Yeah, you have to throw the ball to a fan in the stands, and
Yeah, I'll
then
never
then you don't get the
forget,
ball
man.
back.
It. I should probably say this. Tim Markham always used to say he was great at one-liners. He was an old West
Yeah, he
Texas
was.
guy.
He was a legend.
Yeah, he goes, Shane, hit that little crippled kid in the third row next time. I was like, damn, coach. I said, why can't I just hit a regular person?
He
He said, I
said that
bet
to
you won't
you.
remember to throw it away this time, will you? It's so messed
So
up.
you spent 5 years in Tampa.
Mm,
Good years.
yeah.
Uh, did you win any championships in Tampa?
I did not know. 03, they ended up winning. Man, we had a hell of a team in 03, but that was the
Yeah.
year I got signed by the Browns and then got signed by the Patriots. And
Right.
the Patriots allocated me over to NFL Europe.
That's when you went over. Okay.
And that's when I played with the Claymores and ended up winning the championship that year. I mean, we had a
Oh, you won the
squad.
World Bowl. Okay.
Yeah. And
Um,
yeah.
how much action did you get to see over there? Because I know they rotated. They made
Mm.
sure to play everyone. So you got to play at least a
Basically like
quarter
a
or a
half.
half. Or
Mm-hmm.
did you like Scotland? Because I heard Scotland was different. Because I played in Cologne and
Okay.
Germany was awesome.
Yeah.
So I heard Scotland was a little bit different. Because the Germans were football fans.
Yeah.
Like, they would fill the stadiums. I mean,
Mm.
we had 30,000-40,000 people. And, like, I'll never forget the first game in Cologne. The first kickoff, we were playing Hamburg or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They returned the kick for a touchdown, and our crowd goes crazy. Like, they don't know what's going on. They're just getting drunk, and they're just happy to be there. I'm like, they just scored. That's a bad thing.
Right.
But but Scotland, I mean, what was the culture like there? What was the team like there and the fans?
It was pretty cool. It,
It
it,
was
it
okay.
was it was a great experience. The fans, I mean, it's a soccer, that whole
Yeah,
Europe thing. But yeah, the German games, man, they were awesome to play.
they were.
Um, because they had a lot of American influence because of all the bases that we had over there, from
Yeah, they had the
Storrs.
GFL
Yeah,
too, the German league. So
yeah,
many guys played in, and I
yeah,
mean, they just love the game.
yeah.
So that's why I was curious if the Scottish fans love the
Yeah, because
game, but
we
you
were
had
in
good fans.
Yeah, we stayed in Glasgow, so it was
Yes,
truly awesome. Um, Stayed at the Thistle, which was like a downtown beautiful hotel.
hotel, right?
Um, yeah, just and then the people I met there and the guys that I still have relationships with to this day. It was a great experience from that
Yeah,
perspective. We only had we averaged probably like 25,000 maybe at our games,
yeah.
but man, you talk about we're the Claymores, so they would
Yeah,
before every game,
they had the
they're
swords and everything.
they're doing the Braveheart thing,
Yes.
you know, and
That's
they play
great.
that thing. Yeah, and you
That'd
talk
be so
about getting
cool to come out
chills,
to.
man. Man, the
Oh my
whole
god.
stadium would get amped up, and just the history over there. And then when we played in the three. We played in Berlin,
Barcelona.
Barcelona, but and
Oh,
then so
Berlin,
we didn't play in
Frankfurt.
Cologne. Yeah,
Cologne
and
was
so
new in '04. Yeah, that's
yep,
why.
and one of the coolest experiences was when we played in the stadium where uh
Are
golly
you
I
talking
just
about Berlin?
yeah where
Jesse
Hitler
Owens?
gave a speech and just yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
playing
remember.
in that stadium, like that's pretty fucking cool, man.
I remember
you
Olympic
know
Stadium.
that kind of history being done there and you're playing in that stadium,
Yep.
which kind of leads me to another. I'm jumping ahead here, but I'll never forget when I played on when I was with the Bucks and we played a preseason game in St. Louis, and Kurt Warner, here's a guy that took the path I'm on.
Same path. Yeah. Arena
Yeah,
League,
and
NFL Europe. Yep.
now I'm on a Monday night football game
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
That shit was so surreal, man. I could not believe. I was like, wow, this is what the fuck I'm talking about. This is where I want to be, kind of a thing. And
So
that was an awesome.
did you go back after the season with the Patriots and go to camp with them? Or did
Wait
they
till you,
release?
wait till you hear I got cut. So
Yeah, they do that.
yeah, so Scott McCready, Speedy McCready, he was a practice player with a white dude, and he's a national player. So he's from
Yeah.
England, and he went
Yes.
to USF. And so you know who he is, right?
No, I
And
know the national players
yeah,
because that you had to play that
like
they had to
seven
play
of them
like
or
one
something.
series and
Yeah,
there had to be like 5 on the team or whatever.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this dude was legit. Like he had dual citizenship, so
I yes.
he was an American guy, but yet he was known as an English guy. But he's like
Correct.
6'2", ran like a 4'4". He was with the Patriots the year Brady won his first championship on the practice squad. And so I'm living with him up in the New England area when we got back from NFL Europe. They had
In
just
Foxborough,
just
yeah.
yep, they had just drafted Cliff Kingsbury, 6th round. I'm like, fuck. While I was over in NFL Europe, I saw they drafted him. I'm like, damn, that's not good. They had Rohan Davey,
I
just
remember
drafted
Rohan Davey.
Cliff Kingsbury, and Tom Brady, and then me.
Yeah.
And I think they had one other guy. I was like, this isn't good for me. So we get back there, and like 6 a.m., Scott and I, we're throwing and doing all the stuff you're supposed to do. Like, we
Yeah.
had
Yeah, it's a
access to the
job.
facilities. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'm literally taking a shit after we're done working out. And I get a knock on the bathroom stall door.
You got
Hey, Scott
summoned.
Pioli needs to see you. I was like,
You got summoned
dude,
from
I
the
can't
stall.
even get done taking a dump.
That's the greatest story ever. You got summoned from the stall.
Yeah, I
That's how
swear to
important it
goodness.
was.
Yeah, it's like, get your shit and
Oh
get out
my
of
good.
here. And I'll
I mean,
never forget.
did he give you like a nice speech or was it just, hey, good luck in life, bye?
That's pretty much what it was. He said, well, we
That's
watched your film and we just don't
yeah.
think you're good enough to make it here. I said, well, you obviously didn't watch the entire season because I sucked the first 2 games. I was terrible
Sure.
the first 2 games
Sure.
because it was the
Yeah,
first time being back in the
it's
outdoor
tough
game.
getting used. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an
But
adjustment.
the last four, I ended up throwing 8 touchdowns to like 1 interception, where the first four, I think I threw 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions.
Yeah, and
And
you're not playing the whole game either.
right, exactly. And long story short, that's how I got cut by New England.
I love your balls with Scott Pioli. Tell me that. Well, you obviously didn't watch my games.
What the hell you got to lose, man?
I know you don't. You
I
don't.
mean,
I gotta start acting like you. That's
you know.
awesome. Um,
But, hey, you know what? It didn't help me stay on the team, so I don't know if you want to do that.
no, that you know what? They made their decision. That's fine. Let them go.
Yeah.
So is that when you went to Orlando or did you go back to Tampa?
I went back to Tampa after that. So the
Okay.
04, 05, 06 season, I was in Tampa. And then
Okay.
07, 08, I played in Orlando under Jay.
Yeah.
And then 09 is when
That's when it folded.
it folded. But man, the money
It was
was so good
well
from,
that was the problem. It was their own fault.
yeah,
They increased the salaries. Their salary structure went up so high,
right.
and they went to guys playing one way, and they were signing all NFL guys. I
Yeah.
remember Peter Warrick got signed,
Yep.
and I was like, and he didn't even make the team. They were signing offensive linemen just to play O line, and
Yeah.
I remember I was with the Dragons for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Garcia was making like 250
Yep.
and like everyone else was making dick.
Yeah.
And then '09 rolls around and they're like, we don't have enough money. We're selling out every game, but
Yeah.
we're not generating enough revenue because we're paying the players too much.
Yep.
And it's too bad that they didn't have a better business model. I mean, you're selling out every game.
Yeah, the players kind of screwed that players union
Well,
and
Baker was a terrible commissioner too. Baker was
awful.
useless. He was
He was
absolutely
making
useless.
over one something a year,
Yeah,
1 million a year.
to do
Yep,
nothing,
to do
to do
nothing.
absolutely nothing.
And now he's handing out what is he? He's handing out for the Hall of Fame stuff now.
Oh, I know,
Isn't that crazy?
I couldn't stand him. I couldn't
Yeah,
stand him. He did nothing for the players.
yeah,
I mean, he's the commissioner of the league, and he like, he made the deal with NBC, but it was a shitty deal. Like
yeah.
they got no money out of it. They didn't get as much money as they could have. They had a great deal going with ESPN, and then the league comes back and they go to the NFL Network, and things are a little bit better. And I just had the president of the Albany Firebirds on the podcast 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
and the AFL's back, and they're about to go. They were undefeated. They're about to go 10-0 and hopefully win another championship.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many different leagues. I
Yeah.
had coached. I had coached for the Massachusetts Pirates.
Oh yeah.
We're in one of the indoor leagues, and then there's the IFL, which
All
is
right.
another indoor league where they run the ball more.
Yep.
And it's just good to see that arena football is coming back strong. And you
I
had
hope
such
so, Steve. I'm
I
gonna
do
tell you
too.
this. Yeah, it's I don't know. You
There,
know,
there's no, there's only like 5 teams.
yeah, because what happened? Did you hear what happened? Philly wanted me. Well, Orlando wanted me to come back down there and be the OC because I was the OC
Well, you
there
should be, yeah.
last year. But Philly wanted me to come up there. But I did my research. They ended up shutting the team down
They
2 weeks
did, yeah,
later after I had
yeah.
the conversation.
The Albany president told me because they got the
Mhm.
win 2-0. Technically, it was a forfeit because they had to
Yeah,
shut
yeah,
down the
yeah,
team. They didn't have the money.
yep,
But the teams that are there are committed, and
yeah,
Albany is really focused. He's gotten the attendance up above 5,000, which was a huge milestone.
sure,
Albany used to be rocking. I mean, we used to get
yeah,
10 grand. So he's hoping, they'll get 8 grand for the playoffs, and
yeah,
he's hoping to average 8 grand next 8,000 fans next year for
hmm
games. But the arena, but that's what I say. I personally believe there's enough talent to have 40 teams in the NFL. There's
hmm
guys that just don't get a chance. They never get a chance to play.
I
And
I
now
definitely agree.
there's no developmental league. I mean, you got the UFL now, which is the XFL and the USFL that merged, that
Hmm
are doing some things. The CFL is kind of a joke right now. And there's arena football, but the pay scale isn't what it was, and
Right,
you're not making $200 a game, but you're not making 5 grand a game.
right,
So it's tough for guys to develop,
yeah,
and that's what I think we're seeing.
yeah,
The guy, if I do the show tomorrow, I would love to have you on. I do a show in Worcester, Massachusetts called Moneyline, and we talk about just recent sports news.
hmm
Um, and his idea is the NFL should have a developmental league that runs parallel to the NFL season. It should run in the fall. And that way, guys are in game shape, guys are playing games. They play games on like Wednesday nights, or, when the NFL's not playing and college isn't playing. And
hmm
then if someone gets hurt, someone needs someone, you have somebody already ready, already in playing shape, and you're not calling Joe Flacco, who just ate Thanksgiving dinner and is
yeah,
coming to play for your team. He believes that a developmental league should run parallel to the NFL season, so guys are in game shape and ready to go. So,
that's an
but you
interesting thought.
it is, and I do think it could work, but it's the Players Association is holding everything up,
Mm.
And, hopefully, The Rock being The Rock is able to um get the NFL to agree to some kind of partnership with them.
Mm.
So guys, can develop and have a chance to play. But I mean, you had such an outstanding career. I mean, you had an outstanding career at UConn. You played in NFL Europe. You played what, 10 years, 8 years of arena ball?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing
Yeah.
for a guy that came from PA, being 6'2". If you were 6'4", 6'5", you would have been an NFL guy for sure. I mean, that
Yeah.
was the difference. I mean, back then they were so concerned about height,
And
and then
weight.
everything
Yeah.
yeah, and then
That's
everything changed when Drew Brees came
yeah.
in and was
Yeah.
6 foot
Yeah.
and started doing well, and Russell Wilson came in at
Yeah.
6 foot and started doing well.
Yeah.
Then they stopped worrying about it as much. So,
Right.
had you played in a different era, it would have been, a little
Yeah,
bit
because
different, but
you're exactly right. Back then, it was all about like 6'4", six
yeah,
five, 240 kind of a
yeah.
thing, standing there, sling it. And now it's all about just, making sure that, that you're an athlete and you can get things done and do things that way. Absolutely.
But I just want you to know, like, I always looked up to you. I thought you were such a special talent, and having
I
the
appreciate it.
opportunity to watch you play UMass twice, I mean, that sold me on going to UConn. And you also helped me get a workout with the Orlando Predators. And I hate Jay Gruden's son to this day
Yeah.
because I was playing poker with him. He was
Oh,
a
they're avid
he was
poker
he,
players.
he was a little kid. They lured me into playing poker, and I love poker.
Yeah.
And I played very cautious, and I had pocket aces, and this little asshole goes in on like 7 deuce, and he rivers me, and I lost all my money, and I was pissed
Stop
off
it.
the rest of the trip.
That's
But
about right for the Grudens, though. That's
yeah, I know. And then he ended up becoming a strength coach, I remember.
yeah.
Um, and then John is where he is now, unfortunately, because the league wanted him out. But before we go, I just wanted to talk a little UConn with you.
Yeah.
So UConn wins the men's national championship for basketball 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
They are still in the red in the athletic department. And to me, it drives me crazy. And, I talked to Phil Hunt about it, and it's like, and I talked to Andy Baylock about it. Andy
Mm,
Baylock, I had a great episode with him.
mm,
And he's like, everyone's happy with being in the Big East. They like the competition. They want to stay in the Big East. The ACC would probably take them for football, basketball, and all other sports.
mm,
And it's like Rutgers is getting $40 million to go 5-7 every year.
mm,
And UConn has to go play Tennessee and Michigan and whoever just to get, $1 million here or $1 million there just to fund the program to break even. So, what are your thoughts on the future of UConn football? Where do you think it goes? Do you think that we end up joining a conference? Do you think we end up moving down to FCS again? Do
yeah.
you I mean, what do you think the future holds? Because Moore is doing a good job. I mean, he's doing the right things. They're putting NIL deals together. It's just,
Mm.
they're a little late to the party.
Sure. And I personally think UConn football's hands are tied. Um,
Well, it's a public university. You're right.
right, exactly.
You're
And
right.
yeah, and until people really embrace UConn football. I know there's their core fans and things like
Yeah.
that, but I truly believe UConn football will go as far as not just wins and losses, but as far as the people embracing the university from a football standpoint. Um,
And
if
they need a
they
TV contract. They gotta get a TV
they
contract.
definitely need to do that, so
They're
that way
just
they're getting
missing out.
revenue from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Because we all know that that's where the revenue comes from. It doesn't come from just the home games
No,
that you host, or
no,
we're not Michigan, we're not, those
no.
schools, Tennessee, but um
The
yeah,
SEC's got $1 billion TV deal. I
that's
mean, that's how
amazing.
they're all making money. And
Absolutely.
we left the AAC, which is fine. I
Right.
mean, the AAC wasn't generating a ton of revenue, but I mean, it was something. But
Yeah.
now as an independent, we're not Notre Dame. We don't
Right.
have an NBC contract.
Right.
It's like where do you
The-
go?
I you have to join. Yeah.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and and you
I
know
think the ACC is the
so
fit.
I think it's a great fit for football, and
Yeah.
definitely for football wise, because it's very good talent. Don't get it wrong, but
It,
it's
it's
not
the
the
old Big
S.
East.
Yeah, very true, exactly. And like it just, we as historians, people that love basketball, grew up in the Northeast, we're used to seeing the Big East and us playing, but we will start playing Syracuse again, we will start playing those teams again, like
Correct.
you're saying. um it just won't be the Big East, it'll be the ACC. And
It angers me so much
yeah,
because when they dismantled the Big East, it was all because of greed and money.
absolutely.
And you look at all those schools, okay, Syracuse, Rutgers, Temple, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Miami. None of them, BC, none of them has won a conference championship. None of them have gone to any BCS bowls.
Right.
I mean, you broke
Nothing
up this
significant.
conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only time it happened was 2007 when BC had Matty Ice. They had Matt Ryan,
Right.
and they went to a BCS bowl, but that was it.
Right.
Other than that, every single team from the Big East that left, Syracuse is a disaster. Syracuse has been a dumpster fire, and I live 30 minutes from Syracuse. And the new guy is, he's doing a great job recruiting. But again, they're all the Syracuse and UConn, all these schools are so late to the party with the NIL stuff in the transfer portal. And
Right.
that's what's been killing them. But they all left the Big East because, the grass isn't always greener. And
Very true.
sure, they got the money, and Syracuse is building a wonderful football facility, and God bless them for it. But what's their ceiling in the ACC? Syracuse is never going to win more than 7 games in the ACC. Is
Mm.
Syracuse going to go 12-0 in the ACC? Is Syracuse going to go 10-2 in the ACC?
Right.
Fuck no.
Right.
You know, even the
Yeah.
U has started out great some seasons.
Yeah.
But, they haven't made it to a BCS game.
Yeah.
I think they've made it to a conference championship, but, I mean, they've been a disappointment.
Yeah.
And, it's just so disheartening to see. But
Yeah.
in your opinion,
Yeah.
should UConn try to stay in the Big East for basketball and then try to join a conference for football and all the other sports? Or should UConn just say, fuck it, we need the money, we got to get in the black, join a conference for football and basketball, regardless of everyone wanting to stay for UConn basketball in the Big East, in the Big East?
Yeah. Damn. That is, man.
Because
That's a deep
I've asked
question, man.
I've asked everyone that
That is a
question. I've
deep
asked everyone
question.
that question.
I would love to see us do both. Like, be able to go. That would be ideal, right? If we
But
could
no
go
one
to
will
the
allow it. Yeah.
ACC. Yeah, but yeah, it because from a selfish football standpoint, it will definitely help recruiting to be in the
Huge.
ACC. Now we can recruit the South even
Yep.
harder than what we do, because that's where majority of football players are coming from. I mean, speed wise and different things like that. But it would definitely like open up that whole recruiting gamut, because now their families can see them playing on TV. They can see them play in person because you play a game or two down south, kind of a deal. Um, man, that's a tough one, man. It's
Yeah,
like
I know it is.
I
I
always
know.
say this to everybody: you don't, unless you're in the building, you don't know. And
No, I know. You're
it's
right.
fun to
You're right.
speculate, but I would love.
When I was talking to, I did a Husky talk with Andy Baylock, who's
Hmm.
the greatest guy ever.
Seriously,
He was just telling me, he's like, we lost 3 of our best players to the transfer portal because they were offered NIL deals.
absolutely.
And
And
he's
I was
like,
just about to bring that up. But see, that's where we could get guys too with
yes,
the
well,
NIL.
that's what they're trying to do
Yeah.
now. At least we have. I had talked to I talked to Tommy Collins.
Hmm.
I talked to Nicky the Fish. I talked to Phil Hunt. I
Yeah.
talked to Shank. I talked to the guy, and I talked to Darby. I talked to Darby, who talked to Burton,
Hmm.
and they apparently all had a meeting with Benedict,
Mm.
and they're putting together a collective to try to have some money for NIL deals to bring in top tier talent, because 2 years ago they rebounded. They went 6
Yeah.
and 6 and they went to a bowl game.
Yeah.
And then last year, because they lost so many kids to the transfer portal, they were a disaster.
You're right.
And hopefully this year, I mean, everyone loves apparently Coach Mora. I mean, I don't know him.
Mhm.
They say that he's doing a really good job, and he must be if he won 6 games his first season.
Yeah.
So hopefully this season they turn it around and do better.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know as much about the team, but it's a tough schedule. It's tough being an independent.
Yeah.
What would you say their ceiling is for this year? Would you expect a 6-win season and a bowl game? I mean, obviously we're all hoping for that
Yeah.
at minimum. Or realistically, are you seeing a 3 or 4-win season?
No, honestly, expectations. I see them winning at least six. Like that.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I
That
I
makes me feel
truly
better.
do. I would hope that they're better than 6 wins, but I do expect him. I think now with him being there for the amount of years that Coach Moore has been there, um, the standard is what it is, and you would think that now he has his recruiting class, his own people in there, and different things like that, and kind of like we were talking about with that '98 team. I think
Yeah.
now they should almost be at that level now. And if they don't win, but for anything, they win because they have leadership, they have,
Right.
that mentality going on. And it's just tough though when, like you said, you got to go play all these tough road games, and you can't host anybody that's a big game. See,
Well, they
that was
have to do
the
it to
other.
make the money, which sucks. Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
see, that's where if we join a conference now, we
Yeah.
may host Clemson. Now
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
host Florida State every now and then. You know what I mean? And you
Exactly.
get some of that TV revenue. And when you join, as you know, when you join a conference, you get some of that money when they go to
That's the
ball games.
thing. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's huge. That's what we're missing out on as far as an independent is concerned.
Exactly. That's what
Um,
that's what I said to Baylock. I said it's infuriating that you win 2 national championships in a row for men's basketball, and the athletic department is still in the red. We're
right.
still not making the money because the television contracts for basketball are minuscule compared to what they are for football.
Hmm.
So they really have to do that.
Yeah.
Um, God, I can't believe I almost kept you 2 hours. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Um,
Dude, Steve, this has been awesome, man. I could spend like another 2 hours with you, bro.
no, I feel bad though.
Don't worry about it.
But I I would like, if I do the money line.
Mhm.
The money line is a radio show
Okay.
in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I also post it as a podcast.
Gotcha.
The reason is I coached at Holy Cross, which
Okay.
is a Patriot League school. I
Yeah.
coached at Holy Cross for 8 years, and then afterwards, I worked for the Chamber of Commerce in Worcester, and I hosted the radio show for them, the Chamber Exchange,
Okay.
basically out of luck because each week they would have somebody who worked for the chamber guest host, and nobody wanted to do it. And I love radio, so I said, I'll host. And I hosted, and I did a good job. So they let me host the whole time. And I kept in touch with the owner,
That's
and the
awesome.
owner, yeah, and the owner asked me if I wanted to do anything, and I said, "Hell yeah!" So, so we do 2 shows. We do Moneyline, which is just a basic sports show. It's the number 1 sports show in Worcester, and then we do WooCast. WooCast. It's about the Worcester Red Sox.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about baseball, but they wanted to do a show for the Worcester Red Sox. The Worcester Red Sox love it, so we do that as well. But Moneyline, I have a couple hosts,
Hmm.
and yeah, if I can get you to come on Moneyline and offer your input on some of the sports news, I think that would that would be a lot of fun. I
Oh,
think that would
sure.
be a lot of fun. So,
I love this stuff. Yeah.
so we record it either I mean just check your schedule. We record it either tomorrow night or Thursday night. It depends on when my co-host is available.
Okay.
So if you're available, I will text you. We record it at night. I will text you, and I think you'd be great to have on it because you can offer some expert analysis and settle some of the disputes we have with each other because we have a lot of banter. We have a lot of
Nice.
banter.
Yeah.
I'm very angry at him. My co-host, his name is Frank Cristiano.
Okay.
Frank was my high school football coach.
Okay.
Okay. He owns a bar slash pizzeria, and he also owns another bar called Smoking Gun Saloon, which is
Okay.
a country western bar.
It
They
sounds
have
like it would be
they have bull riding, they
nice.
have a stage, they have a band play and everything.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do, I said, Frank, I want to open a doggy daycare. You have the building. I love dogs. I want a
Me
doggy
too.
daycare. I
I'm
want a
with you.
doggy daycare.
We're gonna push
And
for that. We're gonna get it done.
and every episode I bust Frank's balls. I'm like, Smoking Gun Saloon's going to be out of business in 2 years. Okay, so what infuriated me, one of my sponsors for Moneyline is Steve Darby and his brewery. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so I do the live read for Steve Darby's brewery. Hey, check out 42nd Brew Co., 77 Summer Street, Kingston, Massachusetts. They have
Uh-huh.
pilsners, lagers, and IPAs. Frank stops me after that. He's like, "What? They have IPAs, lagers, pilsners?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Your friend has his own brewery?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Call him up. Tell him I want to buy kegs. Tell him I want to buy everything." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I called Steve during the show, and I said, I put him on. I said, "Frank wants to buy everything from you."
Yeah.
Um, and I was infuriated because he doesn't know Steve. He's never had the beer, but he's going to spend all this money buying his beer, and he won't give me my doggy daycare.
Right. What's going on there?
It's
What?
bullshit.
Yeah. Where are your priorities?
It's
Come on,
bullshit.
Frank. Yeah, it is.
So, a friend of mine and I are probably going to drive out to Worcester in the next 2 weeks. We're going to go to a Woo Sox game, and Steve's going to meet us. And my friend has a pickup truck, and we're going to load his pickup truck up with just cases and cases and cases of beer,
Nice.
the IPAs, the pilsners, the lagers, and I'm going to drive home miserable because I just gave Steve Darby all this business,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't get my doggy daycare.
No, that's yeah.
Shane,
We
that's all I
got
want
to
is my
figure
doggy
something out
daycare.
there. And we got to figure something out. We got to get that doggy daycare.
Doggy daycare. The last thing I'll ask you, I mean, you just have an incredible mind for football. do you plan to coach? Do you want to coach in the future? I mean, at the high school level, at the college level, I
Yeah.
mean, with your resume and you're young enough, I mean,
Yeah.
you
Well,
definitely could be a position coach or an OC, head
yeah,
coach. I mean,
I was actually an offensive. It's a good question, man. I'm glad you brought that up
well,
because
that's because I'm the best podcast host in the universe.
there it
Just so you
is.
know.
Absolutely, just throwing it out there. No, seriously. I I was an OC in the Arena League for
Yeah, I know you
a
were.
few years. We ended up winning. I went to the Arena Ball as an offense coordinator. We lost one to Philly, and then I went again when I was coaching in DC, and we ended up winning
Oh wow.
an Arena Ball. Yeah, so I won an Arena Ball championship as a coach, just not as a player. That
Well,
was
because I
great.
see like Sonny Cumby coaching in the NFL or coaching college,
I mean,
and Cliff
yeah,
Kingsbury coaching.
I was
So I
at
always think
Fort
of you.
Scott. Yeah, I was at Fort Scott. I don't know if you ever saw the Last Chance U in that conference that
I've heard of the
all
show. I haven't watched it.
out in Kansas, and it's the best junior college
Yes,
conference in the
yes,
country.
yes.
And yeah, so I was the offense coordinator there. But everywhere I've been, either the league folded, which happened in the Arena League,
Right.
or when I was coaching at Fort Scott, the the uh, the university ended up shutting down the
They
football
did. I
program
remember.
because
I
of
remember
money.
during the show.
Yep,
Wow.
and
Oh my God.
so yeah, so I'm still looking to get into it,
So
but
you still want to coach?
I would love to
Yeah,
coach
I
at a
agree.
high level. And I coached in the high school level when I was at lived in Florida.
Well,
We
because
went to a
you could
state
play
championship.
arena and coach in the fall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We went to the state championship.
Oh my
We
God.
lost in this. We were state semifinalists or the next year. So yeah, it's I've had a really good coaching career so far. It's just a matter of
Would
you
you
know
leave Florida to coach?
Well, I'm in Delaware now.
Oh, you're in
I'm living up
Delaware.
here. Yeah, I'm
Oh
living up in
shit.
Delaware now.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can talk more about that from a personal standpoint, but certain things happened in my life that brought me from Florida back up to here, but to the Northeast. But
No, it's good you're here because
yeah,
the only reason I asked because Hamilton College is by where I live in Utica,
okay.
um, and I know um, they were looking for an OC, and I think they had a position coach job open. So I was going to
Oh well,
double check with them. That's why I asked if you would move if there was an opportunity.
100%. Yeah, trust
Okay,
me, I'm
okay, awesome.
yeah. It's
I I'll look
one
into
thing you
that for
can't
sure.
control is what life does to you, and
No,
you
believe me,
gotta react.
believe me, I know.
Yeah, right.
I know, man. I know. I know, believe me. But, thank you so much. This is I mean, it's been 2 hours, but you
Steve, it's been awesome, man.
it didn't feel like 2 hours.
Not at all,
This
but
didn't
that's because
drag
you're
at
the best
all.
one in the business, bro.
That's why I wanted you, man.
No doubt.
That's why I asked. I'm
Get it
so glad
done.
we got this done.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely talk with you again.
Yeah.
I wanna do an episode with you and Shank together. I'd love to do an episode with you, Shank, and Courtney, and whoever you want.
Yeah.
I can
Anybody. Yeah.
I can have up to 8 people on. So I mean, whatever comes to mind, whatever you want to do. I'm supposed to
Certainly.
do an episode with Dagden and Hoffman. I'm doing the episode with that Schumann guy
Yeah,
tomorrow,
Dave. Yep. Yep.
and Jim Tucker, who I don't know.
Hmm. Good old Tuck. Yeah.
Jim Tucker messaged me and wanted to come on. I'm like, I
This
don't know who
guy,
you
you want
are.
to talk about a guy who probably has stories that none of us know about? Because
Really?
he was our basically like equipment guy slash
Yeah, yeah,
video
yeah.
guy slash everything guy. And man, yeah, Tuck's a
Okay.
good dude, man.
Yeah,
Real good
he's
dude.
in the PFL right now,
Yeah,
the MMA.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just funny because people message me asking
Yeah,
to come on, which I was
that's
surprised
awesome.
about.
No, you're
So,
doing a hell of a job, man. You're doing
oh,
a hell of
thank
a
you.
job.
I really appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll ask you, I did an episode which I was very difficult and I didn't want to do it, but we did an episode to tribute for Adam Coles, who
Mm,
was our punter, who died via suicide. I posted the episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. It addresses that and mental health, because
mm,
we all struggle. And if you get a chance, I'm just trying to spread the word. I'm trying to get money to make a donation to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention
mm,
in his name. So if you could like and share the episode, because you
mm.
have such a great following. I put it on LinkedIn,
Okay.
Instagram, and Facebook. I would really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And this I will probably put up tomorrow,
Okay.
just because I put up a couple episodes today, and I want to make sure this gets a standalone before I put anything else up, if that's
Uh,
cool with you.
it was cool with me. Heck, I don't. Whatever you
'Cause
do with it, you
well,
do with it.
no,
I'm
because
just.
I wanna feature you, and
I
then
appreciate it.
I got Tucker and Schumann tomorrow, and then I can
Yeah.
post them on Thursday.
Gotcha.
So I got Laban too. I got Laban's show.
Yeah.
Laban is a character, by the way, just so you know.
Man, he's a different one. That's for sure.
Oh my
You
god.
talk about an unbelievable athlete, though. That guy.
Well, that's why I was that's why I was semi late to your podcast.
Mm,
Laban sent me a text
mm.
saying, "Can you come on the air at 5:45?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, my daughter's here, and I want to have my daughter on the podcast."
Oh.
I was like, "All right, man, I'll try to get set up."
Yeah.
And then I get set up, and I'm like, "I got Shane at 7," and I'm like, and he talks.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get him to wrap it up, and we
Yeah.
wrap it up. I'm like, "Shane's waiting for me. I gotta get on."
Yeah.
So that's why I was slightly late, and then I
Oh,
needed
don't
my
worry about it, man.
then after Laban,
You're
I needed
grinding.
my coffee.
Yeah, you do. He runs just as fast as his mouth goes.
He does.
That's the great thing about him.
I'm gonna tell him that. That's great. That
Yeah.
is great.
Hey,
That
I'm
is
happy
great.
though. He did beat one of the guys I played with. He went to Boston College. I played with him in Tampa. Jonathan
Oh,
Ordway. And
oh, he
yeah,
did
yep.
in the hurdles, or
Yeah.
that's what he ran,
I
right?
think it was just the. I
Or
think it was
pole
just
vaulting,
the.
pole vaulting.
I think it was the hurdles.
It was the hurdles. I know he did hurdles and pole vaulting. Okay,
Yeah. It was
okay.
indoor, but anyway, he whooped him though, and I always told him, I said, "Man, you got beat by a white dude." That's what I tell Jo, Jonathan Orway. I said,
All
"Don't
right.
talk to me.
Well,
You got beat by a white dude."
uh, all right. Well, this has been an incredible Husky talk, I will say. For the GOAT himself, Shane Stafford, thank you so much for being with us. And
Steve, I
I am
appreciate
your
you, man.
host. Oh, I appreciate you. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. This has been Husky Talk, and we will see you again soon. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.